Welcome back to WOWBIZ Weekly. I'm Lynn Hinderaker, and you are watching WOWBIZTV.com or YouTube WOWBIZ TV. Thanks for joining me. This is niche casting, not broadcasting. We are disrupting the world of journalism, broadcasting, news, marketing, everything associated with communications right here in the context of business. In fact, we are Omaha's local business news magazine podcast, and we are talking about the substance of what is really happening right here in the Omaha, Nebraska area. Now, I've got a great lineup, some very interesting guests that are all tuned in to what is happening on the national scene as well as on the local scene right here. So my first guest is a person I've known now for several years. I interviewed her in Lincoln, Nebraska a number of years ago. We're talking about Best Buy, we're talking about Yahoo, we're talking about some of the key issues that a lot of chief executives are struggling with today insofar as culture and organizational alignment. So please welcome my good friend, a Vistage trusted advisor, Dr. Janet Walker, everybody, right here. Hey. That was good. That was good. Thank you so much. We've got our Creighton students right here.
Excellent. Wow, so many of them.
Yes.
Thanks for coming out so early in the morning.
The Dean's Fellows are here. They compensate in quality, if not for quantity, all right? Now listen, you are the person, you're the perfect person to ask about this, as a matter of fact. Yes. You know, we've been reading in the news the last several weeks that the telecommuting trend is I would say suffering or enjoying some kind of a change.
Or reversing.
Reversing, I guess that's a better word. And both Best Buy and Yahoo, both those organizations have said, hey, you guys, we've had you out there in your home offices. We'd like you to quit doing that now and come inside the office facility and work here with the rest of us. Mm-hmm. Why would they do that? And is that a good idea or a bad idea?
Yeah, there's a couple different dimensions on this. So it might be a good idea. I think telecommuting, just a quick background, is it became a really great idea about 15, 20 years ago.
Yes.
And it actually lowered the overhead for businesses. That
Big time.
They didn't have to have office space, parking spaces, whatever.
Absolutely.
And it's a great model. It still is a great model if a company is in maintenance mode. It's very easy. If you got your processes figured out, it's very easy just to, it doesn't matter where someone's working. They can get it done.
As long as they get it done. And of course, technology enables this.
Absolutely.
Increasingly well, right?
There's a lot of companies who they never see their employees.
Exactly.
The shift, I think, it's really kind of interesting because what they're finding as they're trying to compete in the market and the economy's just been something has been a challenge for businesses.
It's been sluggish.
It is, and so businesses are seeing that the way to get ahead is through innovation and creativity. If you and I never see each other, it's very hard to create something new. And I was talking with a client recently that talked about the silos in their organizations.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with silos. But how he described it is that there's this nexus, there's this point right in the middle of those silos. That's where creativity happens. That's where innovation happens.
Interaction.
Yeah, and so you can't have that if you've got people spread across the United States, spread across the whatever. So it's bringing them together.
All right. Now, Janet, let me ask you this. Let's pretend we have some CEOs watching this interview. It's posted up on YouTube and on the WOWBIZ site and so on. And they're watching this and they're going, okay, that makes some sense. They understand that when people get together, ideas inadvertently pop up. The question I think a lot of them are struggling with is now a time when innovation is, a strategic priority? It seems like employee productivity and keeping costs down is also a priority.
Right.
So how would you counsel a chief executive in that regard?
It's whatever their business model is and whatever their business performance is their P&L, their balance sheets where they want them to be. And I think businesses are always looking for innovation, but they have to balance culture and productivity.
Yes.
So my counsel to them is if you've got a culture and an expectation of employees that they can work remotely,
yes,
you need to manage that expectation to bring them back because you've got a lot of morale issues which are actually going to be anti-innovation. Yeah, anti-innovation. If you got them sitting there looking at each other and not talking.
So morale issues, so a couple of assumptions here. I want to go back and ask you this. So telecommuting leads to morale issues? Is that what you're saying?
Taking away what is seen as a privilege leads to morale issues.
Okay.
So telecommuting, a lot of people accept these jobs because they like that flexibility, they
Absolutely.
like that freedom,
Absolutely.
they like to be able to do dishes while they're making phone calls.
So you give them the privilege of working from home because we trust you to get the work done.
Right.
Now you pull them back in and say, hey, we need your ideas and we need some diversity and some ideation. So they'll be a little bit demoralized maybe because of that?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
So here they are sitting here 2 weeks after this initiative, and they're going, well, I'm supposed to be innovating, but I'm sitting here and I'm really bummed out because my kids are at the babysitter and I missed them. Is that what's happening?
That's where the huge change management strategies, I sure hope they were in place before Yahoo and Best Buy. As big as they are, I hope they had that part figured out.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, have you orchestrated or been involved in these kinds of change management, initiatives, with the end result being let's innovate, let's reinvent ourselves, either the culture or the brand? I mean, I've been involved in a few of those. I was just curious what your thoughts are about that.
My change initiatives are usually more subtle. It's something's happening, decreased funding.
Right.
So we just have to change how we do things because something's being done to us versus let's create this. So I guess my initial gut reaction it's really more of the reaction to the outside environment. But I think the same strategies have to be in place, as you really have to create that sense of urgency.
Right.
You have to have a strategy to it. You can't just believe that employees are going to understand what it is that you're trying to do. I think I just talked with somebody yesterday that their company's changing their work hour structure.
Right.
And tried to convince them with all the benefits, but they already had their decision made and just did it to them, so to speak. So
may not feel so good to them. Now, if somebody says, okay, we need to be more competitive in the marketplace, we need innovation, let's get everybody in here and mix it up a little bit. My instincts tell me that they have to be able to orchestrate the interaction. So it's just like, well, everybody chat and I expect a couple ideas in a week.
Right.
Yeah?
Yep. They need to have that structure in place and that process in place because it isn't going to just happen.
And all the people that have been telecommuting are all of a sudden cramped because the space is a little bit limited, right? It's being reallocated. What do you suggest? Tear down the walls at that point, and open things up, or start allocating smaller cubicles for everybody?
I guess I'd suggest that not be so extreme. I'd suggest maybe let there be a balance of telecommunication and.
Oh, really?
I would suggest.
Okay, now I'm going to dig deep.
Okay.
How do you decide who gets to continue telecommuting and no, you've got to come back in here and contribute somehow to this new initiative?
I think everybody at some point.
This is when people hire you, by the way, to make these tough decisions as a consultant, right? Go ahead.
Or what should my answer be?
Well,
no.
That's
just kidding. So how do you decide? I think everybody if innovation, the assumption is innovation comes from everyone. So at some point, you need to have innovation meetings. You need to have something at that point. Everybody needs to be in. Yeah. So there needs to be a process in place that's bringing people in, a reason for them to come in, not just to show up and say, okay, I don't see any sparks yet. What's happening?
Yeah, chat over there by the coffee pot and come up with something soon.
It's the structure, because in reality, our jobs are part just production and part innovation.
Yes.
And they have to decide, is this 90% production, 10% innovation? Then I would say match it up. Get your people in here 10% of the time and let them do their work the rest of the time. Because
finding that cultural balance,
that's
tough.
And productivity balance.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Janet Walker. I know you've got a quick meeting, so it's a pleasure to have you again, Again on WOWBIZ Weekly.
Yes.
Dr. Janet Walker, everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome job. Beautiful. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching us here on WOWBIZ Weekly. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. Don't go away.